Welcome to the Recipe Project, where I bake my way through recipes that I have collected over the years exactly as written. Today I am going to dig deep back in my vault for a recipe that I printed way back, believe it or not, October 30th, 2012. So this one has been sitting waiting for me to find the time to make it, and I thought I am going to really enjoy making this, so I'm going to attempt it. It is called earthquake cake. Now earthquake cakes, they're really easy to make, but they don't have the greatest look or appearance to them. They look like they have craters on top, thus the name earthquake cakes. They're usually easily put together. There are several different variations of them, but this one is a German chocolate variation, so it's got pecans and coconut in it. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I happen to love coconut and pecans, so I am going to make this one. So to start off, I read the recipe, obviously, and now my mise en place set up. This recipe is so old that it calls for an 18-ounce box of German chocolate cake mix, so at the store. Well, they don't make 18-ounce cake mix anymore. The biggest you're going to find is it's a 15.25 or a 13.25 ounce box. So everything was sold out in my store. The only, I think, 3 that make it are Duncan, Heinz, Betty Crocker, and Pillsbury. And the only one I could find was a 13.25 ounce. All the other ones were sold out. So I was really looking for that 15.25 ounce box, but I got to get what I could find. The only saving grace with this recipe is that it says for us to use what is called for on your cake box. So, so you're going to make your cake exactly as it is on the back here. So the recipe calls for, 1 1/4 cup of water, or as on your cake box, mine calls for 1 cup. Then it calls for 3 eggs, which so does mine, and a 1/2 cup of oil, and so does mine. The only difference was the extra 1/4 cup of water that I don't need because I'm missing those extra ounces of cake. So things have changed over the years since I've created this, so 14 years. Everything has shrunk and they charge you more for it. So that is how old this recipe is, that things have changed that much. So I am going to make it as it says here, but using my box instructions, which I have everything set out for right here. So first things first, it does call for pecans, and I always, even though it doesn't say in this recipe, but I always toast my nuts because it brings out some really delicious flavor, and it gets those oils working for you. So you're definitely going to want to always toast your nuts. It's just a rule of thumb. It doesn't over bake. When you cook it in the oven, everybody thinks, oh, it's going to be burnt. No, it is not. It just enhances the flavor tenfold if you do toast your nuts. So the recipe does call for 1 cup of pecans, so I went ahead and toasted those just on the oven. Sometimes I do it, on the stove. Sometimes I do it in the oven, but I didn't have my oven preheated, and I wanted to get them done ahead of time. So I went ahead and did that, and I also took my 9x13 pan, and I really liberally put Pam in there, so I got that all set up. So first things first, I'm going to preheat my oven. It asks for 350, so I'm getting that going. And then we are going to go ahead and spread in the coconut. So it calls for 1 cup of coconut. So I'm going to take my 1 cup of coconut, and it says just spread it in the bottom of your pan. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this is almost like a dump cake recipe. If you've ever made those before, they're very nice, easy to go together, and so good. Not always the best looking, but the best tasting. So I have my cup of coconut, and I have that all situated in the bottom, just as good as I can there. Then it calls for me to spread my pecans on the bottom as well. So this is my cup of pecan pieces, and I'm going to spread those in the bottom of this pan right on top of the coconut. Spread them out all over so everybody gets a little bit of the goodness. Make sure you get into those corners. It smells so good already. And then we are going to start mixing the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so the next step is to prepare the cake mix according to the directions on the box. So my box says for me to mix the cake mix, water, oil, and eggs in a large bowl with mixer on medium speed, or beat vigorously by hand for 2 minutes. So let me get my cake mix here. Dump it in. There is my cake mix. And my water. Mine calls for a cup of water, so I'm adding that. And a half a cup of oil. And my 3 eggs. 3 large eggs. Okay. I am going to get this on medium speed with my mixer. I'm just using my hand mixer today. It's a little easier. Scraping down those sides, making sure. Okay, that looks mixed. So now it wants me to pour over the pecan pieces and coconut pieces. So let me move this out of here. Alrighty. So I have to pour this over it. So I'm going to do this so it's as evenly as I can get it. Using my scraper, get the rest of it out of there. Scrape that at the bottom here. goodness, come on out. Okay. I'm going to try to not disrupt the bottom. Okay, that looks good. And I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to get ready for the next step. Next step, after the cake mix, is going to be making the topping. And this is going to be a half of a cup of margarine, softened. I don't usually use margarine, but this recipe calls for it. So when I always make a recipe, I make it as written. Then if I want to do any adjustments later, I do. So I did go out and buy some margarine, and I have this softening since this morning. So I'm plopping that in. That is 1 stick, is a half a cup. So I have that in. Next is going to be my cream cheese. So this is 8 ounces, or 1 block of cream cheese. I'm going to put this in here. It's also softened since this morning. And then it also calls for a pound of powdered sugar. So whenever something says a pound, you know, don't just guesstimate, especially, you know, usually powdered sugar is about 2 pounds. It's a bag. So always weigh it. So I weighed this out earlier, and I have it all ready. A lot of times when you have your dry ingredients, it asks, or it says in the recipe, 1 cup or so many ounces. Always, 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 when it says that, make sure you weigh. Don't use the cup. If it gives you a weight, use that. Because it's more precise, and baking is all about being precise. It's like a chemistry experiment. Things can go wrong in the oven if you don't have exactly what it calls for. And flour and powdered stuff like powdered sugar, the proper way to scoop it and measure it is you actually take a spoon, you scoop it in, and then you level it off. A lot of people just dip the whole measuring cup in there, and when they do that, it could pack down, and they actually can have more flour. So always take your measuring cup, scoop the flour into it with a spoon, level it off with the back of a butter knife, to try to get as close to as what you're supposed to have as possible. So here is my my margarine, my cream cheese, and my powdered sugar. And also it asks for a teaspoon of vanilla. So always in my past, I've always used just my measuring spoons for liquid measure, but my husband found these. So liquid measures and dry ingredients always should have different measuring cups. So these you use for liquid measure, and then anything that's dry, you use the cups. And I didn't know they made something like this, but this is really handy because it has teaspoons, tablespoons, ounces, milliliters on it. It looks like a little shot glass, but it's actually a measuring cup, if you will, for liquids. So I use that for my 1 teaspoon. So let's get this mixed. Hopefully I don't make a huge mess. I'm going to start it out on low. I usually make a big mess with flour and powdered sugar, so let's hope I don't. I'm kind of nervous. But it just says mix well. Okay. All right, that's looking really good. Okay. Let me do a quick turn around with this, make sure everything in the bottom. Oh, see some powdered sugar down there. Let's get that mixed up. Okay, so next step is going to place this on here in dollops. So place it on the cake in dollops. Oop. All right, so here is my cake. Let me get a spoon out. Forgot to get one. So just place on here in dollops. It said you don't have to worry about spreading evenly. So let me get all these on here in dollops and we'll come back and we'll get this in the oven. All right, I spread this all out into dollops. It's not the prettiest. Like I said, most cakes, earthquake cake, dump cake, they don't really look pretty, but everything kind of bakes up and they taste absolutely amazing. They're more like a scoop cake than a cut cake. I have not made an earthquake cake before. I've had them, but I have not made one, so we will see how this turns out. My oven did beep, so it is ready. It says that I am supposed to put this in for 40 to 50 minutes. That's a huge window. I am going to stop it at 40 minutes and see. It said when you put a toothpick or a tester in, it checks for doneness, so I'm going to try that at 40 minutes. And I'm going to pop this in and we will see what we have. See you in a few. At 40 minutes, let's see what we have. Looks so good. Again, it's all cracked on top, but that's how it's supposed to look. It's supposed to be like an earthquake. All right, putting a tester in the middle. Comes out clean. Okay, we are all set. So I'm going to let it sit for a couple minutes because I do not want to bite into it when it is super hot. Again, it looks just wonderful. I'm going to let that set, turn off my oven, and we will get back to you shortly and we'll have a taste. All right, let's try it. I'm going to attempt to cut it here. That looks good. Makes little craters inside here. Kind of sinks back down. Let me take a bite. Got a little bit of the cream from the cream cheese mixture. A little bit of the nuts and coconut. All right, let's try it. It's a big bite. Really good. Love the nutty flavor. It does taste just like a German chocolate cake. What I do like about German chocolate is it's not super sweet. It's more of a subtle flavor. This is delicious. Now if I made it next time, I probably would use butter because that's just what I would rather use. Excuse me. And also I might even toast my coconut. I usually like to toast my coconut, so I might try that next time. Again, this is earthquake cake. It comes from food.com, and it was submitted by Peppermint Kitty. I got this recipe in 2012, so it's finally coming out of my collection to get baked. And well, that's it for today, and thank you for joining me on the recipe projects, and I hope you come join me again next time for my next recipe.